Hello everybody, my name is Alan Moore, author of the comic book Watchmen. Today I'll be reading some fan email that I received about my book, Watchmen. This first one reads, "How did you get the idea for Watchmen?" Well, I've been doing a lot of work trying to revamp old characters for lots of different stories, and I thought, what would it have been like if when superheroes first came out, if regular citizens took to the streets to fight crime? I wanted to use all the regular superhero cliches to express the characters and the plot of the comic. Okay, this next one says, "Where did you get the setting for the comic?" Well, it wasn't really that hard to choose a setting. I just set it in New York. Most other comics have been in New York or have been modeled after New York. By choosing that city, I was able to fit various other locations within that city that felt like they were very diverse, but still all under one common location. Okay, this one says, "How did you think of all the characters in the story?" There are about 7 or 8 very unique characters in the book. Well, DC had acquired a new string of characters, and I thought it would have been a good idea to revamp those old heroes, as I have done with old characters in previous works. I submitted my story to DC, but DC rejected it because they didn't want me to turn their expensive characters into being dysfunctional or dead. I thought I would just make the characters similar to those, so the reader could easily recognize them and know kind of who they were, or who they were supposed to be. The Night Owl is a mix between Batman and Clark Kent. Ozymandias was a mix between Alexander the Great and the Thunderbolt. Okay, this one says, "Why did you decide to start the story immediately with the death of a comedian? It seemed like such a strange way to start the story, especially because we didn't meet who the comedian was yet." Well, I guess I chose to start the story with the immediate murder of the comedian because I was able to set the entire story into motion. His death is the driving force in Rorschach and his quest throughout the entire comic. It also created something for the other characters to share in parts of the book and gives them something to relate to. I thought that would be a good way to start the comic. Have a famous, crime-fighting, war legend superhero found dead. As the mystery unravels, the story will lead deeper and deeper into the real heart of the superhero's world, and show that the reality was very different than the general public image of superheroes. Okay, this one says, "Early in the book you started to describe the characters and where they came from. They all seem to be very odd in their own way. What effect did having strange characters have on the book?" Well, making them a little crazy was originally what I had planned to do with the characters. It kinda lets me do things with characters that I wouldn't have been able to do with them otherwise. Like with Rorschach. He is shown as a pessimist with black and white values, with many shapes, but never mixes into shades of gray. His view of existence is random. When he goes to warn the other characters of the plot he thinks he uncovered, they don't believe him, because they know of his personality and the way he normally thinks and acts. They just think it's him being himself. They don't really think much of it, when he actually is right. So this one says, "Why did you incorporate the relationship between Dr. Manhattan and Silk Spectre?" Well, I wanted to show how emotionally detached Dr. Manhattan had been since his accident. He forces Lori to leave him and sends her back into the superhero world. She starts up again fighting crime with Dryberg. Dryberg eventually starts to believe some aspects of Rorschach's conspiracy after fighting more crime. They are going to join Rorschach, and with Lori leaving, Dr. Manhattan finally becomes emotionally opened, and he teleports himself back to Mars after he's accused of giving cancer to all his friends and former colleagues. Dr. Manhattan leaving the US sets up the opportunity for the main antagonist to attack. Just one relationship has lots of effect in the comic. Okay, this one says, "Why did you decide to write the story the way you did? You jumped all over the book with a very unlinear story." Well, I haven't really thought about that before. I guess I did. Well, I'm not exactly sure if that's how I wanted to make the story originally. I wrote lots of different parts at different times. It just worked out that way, I guess. The entire story was intertwined with another story within the book, The Tales of the Black Freighter, which is read by one of the characters. The story also skips through space and time. Dr. Manhattan has the ability to warp through time and reflect back on what he has done or seen. I think I found it very entertaining for him to go to the future and look back on something that is happening currently to the reader, but for him, it has already happened. Alright, this one says, why did you end the comic the way you did? It was crazy. Well, that's what I was going for. I don't want to spoil the ending for anyone who hasn't read the book yet, so I'll try to keep details so low. I wanted the reader to get really hyped up with what goes on towards the end of the book. I wanted the reader to get attached to certain characters and to be affected by what happens in the end. I also wanted a twist ending. Like most superhero comics have. The bad guy was someone you never expected it to be. Someone died that you never expected to. That's what really gets your adrenaline going, and that's what I really wanted. I wanted the reader to get sucked into the story, and then eventually get blown away. And I think that's what makes a good story, when you get attached, and then you feel for the story. Alright, this one says, have you seen the movie adaptation of The Watchmen? Honestly, I haven't watched it yet. I know that sounds ridiculous that the movie is based off my book, but I haven't watched it yet. I don't own a copy. I don't even own a copy of my book, The Watchmen. I just don't see the point. If the movie was accurate, then that's good, I guess. But movies don't capture some aspects of the story that comics and books can. I guess that's why I haven't captured it, or I haven't watched it yet. Comics are able to get into a part of your mind that movies just can't. In a comic, you can see everything how you want it. Imagine it how you want it. In a movie, it's just laid out there plain for you. It's so simple. I feel like that's why I love being a comic book writer. It's a fantastic medium, and I feel like would affect a bit bigger audience by writing a comic book than I would ever by just writing a movie. Movies are nice, but I just feel like comic books are what really made the story what it was. Alright, so those are all the questions that I got today. I will be doing another reading eventually in the future, but for now that's it.